Welcome, everybody, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm going to be looking at a psychological horror mystery film from 2019. That movie is Escape Room. Now, before I get into what I know about this film, I just want to say, this was originally supposed to be a completely different film review, but I didn't realize until I went to go select it on Shaw on Demand that it was a whole half an hour longer than I thought it was going to be. And usually the films I cover are an hour 40 to an hour 50. This was 2 hours and 10 minutes, which I know doesn't sound like a lot longer than most other films, but it was longer than I expected. But don't worry, I'm sure I will cover that film later on this month. But without any further ado, let's get into Escape Room. Now, I'll tell you exactly what I know about this film. I know it came out in 2019, and it has something to do with people that have to solve these puzzles to escape these series of mystery rooms. And honestly, I remember seeing trailers for this movie, and I just honestly thought it looked straight up like a fucking total ripoff of the Saw franchise. So when I was asked by a friend to go see it in the theaters, I pretty much refused to go because I had no fucking interest. Now, I looked at the cast and I did not recognize a single member of that fucking cast, with the exception being one member. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's best known for playing Zahid in Netflix's Atypical. And he's one of the characters in this film, and I actually really enjoy that show. In fact, I'm waiting for the third season right now. But other than that, I know the director, he wrote the script for the Paranormal Activity film Ghost Dimension, and he directed the Insidious The Last Key, which was the last Insidious movie. And to be honest with you guys, I've seen both of those movies, and honestly, I thought they were probably the weakest of both franchises. Mind you, for different reasons, but they were both still fucking kinda bad. Which, going into this is not always a good sign, but I, I have slight hopes. My hopes are pretty low, but if this movie is anything like the Saw franchise, like I think it's going to be, I did enjoy a few of the Saw movies. Mind you, a few of them were also quite fucking awful, but I did enjoy a few with them. So, this film could go either way. It could be fucking nothing like the Saw franchise. I could be totally wrong about that. Or it could be a blatant ripoff, or it could be something else completely different. I don't really know. But the only way I'm gonna find out that this film's any decent at all is if I shut the fuck up and I press play. Now I'm gonna do that right now. So, without further ado, let's sit back, chill out, and watch Escape Room. You know, guys, I know this movie's only been on like 4 minutes, but I'm just saying this right now. That beginning, in normal circumstances, that would be cool. Though that probably was the slowest and dumbest motherfucker I've ever seen try and get through a puzzle. But, that's not the point. That whole thing of the walls closing in on him, I've seen that in a fucking Saw movie. I don't remember which one it was exactly. I think it might have been I'm pretty sure it was the end of the fifth one. Walls closed in on one of the villains and squished him the fuck to death. I've seen it in a Saw movie. And I swear to God, if this entire movie is them just stealing ideas from fucking Saw, then I am really gonna be disappointed by the outcome of this movie. Because that was honestly kind of stupid. Just saying.
Well, combination.
Alright.
Alright, everyone search the room.
You know what's really bad?
It's starting right now?
Yes!
When there is only one likable
Anything that looks like a
character
puzzle
and these
or,
group of
codes, numbers are
motherfuckers.
very
And
important.
you know who
It
that
can be
is?
anything,
I said his name at the
anywhere.
beginning. Zahid from
You want
Atypical
me to hold on to
is
this?
the only fucking likable character in this.
Okay?
Because everybody else is a fucking
Great.
whiny little
Very funny.
asshole.
Yeah.
Except maybe the fat guy, but he's just annoying as shit. Like, Zahid's the only fucking one who's in any way likable. And why do I feel like he's going to die? Not only that, do these motherfuckers just, like, not question the fact that they all got boxes for some reason? And, like, not only that, like, what escape room would give you $10,000 for figuring it out its
You
puzzle?
guys?
Nobody thinks
These are all
that's
dressed to the same guy.
in any way suspicious?
Dr. Wutan Yu? I mean, that's gotta be a clue, right?
I don't know, but
maybe that's the story. Maybe
I'm hoping
maybe
this
he's like an
gets a
evil
little bit
scientist
more
man to escape
interesting,
his lab
because
before he sews us all
quite
together into
frankly,
some sort of
so far
medical
it's been a
abomination.
bit
So
dull.
his evil lab has a
Hoping
way?
it'll pick up quite
Yeah.
quickly.
No.
Okay. I'd just like to say, first of all, it should not have taken them this long to come up with the idea of putting something on these things they need to hold down to keep open that fucking window. It took them this long to think of the idea to fill up cups and put them on the thing to fucking keep it open. Like, I was literally thinking that the minute they found the fucking buttons.
You're not stuck. You're okay.
I just really like for these motherfuckers to have at least half of common sense.
What are we supposed to do now?
How would I know? You're the expert here.
And now they're underwater.
So you're
I'd just like to say, for the record,
You're the reason
this
that
whole
man drank all our
room
clues.
turning into like a huge ass fucking
How was I
oven.
supposed to know that
I've
this is
seen
water
something
cooler?
also similar in the last Saw movie. I'm telling you, you can fucking say what you want for me nitpicking this shit.
That's not good.
And holy shit, that is not good. Don't tell me fucking Zahid's gonna be the first one to die. I swear to fucking God. If the only likable in this character is the first one to die,
Oh my god.
I'm going to be fucking choked. You
I
know,
hate the cold and it makes me go crazy.
when I first started
Been
this
wondering
movie,
why.
Me too.
I never thought I'd
I'm
go
not
in
in south of France.
saying this, but I'm fucking really digging the
I was
overall
sorry with that jacket.
atmosphere of this movie right now. Like, it feels like everybody's really starting to set in panic, and I have to say for the record, these are some of the most fucking clever puzzles I think I've ever seen in a goddamn movie before. Like, I'm actually really surprised.
Hey, you mind not smoking that around me?
Like, I fucking wasn't actually expecting this. I mean, it'd help a little bit if there was more than just one likable fucking character, but
I found something.
god damn it, if there was fucking escape rooms like this, I've never been to an escape room,
Another clue.
but if there was an escape room like this, I think I might actually go to one.
Okay.
So far, I'm hoping it keeps up this atmosphere, but so far this movie is starting to get interesting. Let's hope it builds on that.
Perfectly fine.
And just like that, the only likable fucking character in this movie is dead.
Not mine.
Just my
Somebody kept talking about
fucking
Games
luck.
Master.
Now for the next
Games
show.
Master? I work at a grocery store. All right,
50
they
minutes?
Jason's the one here, the whole American
About
Psycho
50
vibe.
minutes, yeah. For the
But
next
you're
50
like the
minutes,
creep
I'm
with the truck
stuck with
stop.
these
Zoe, I'm really sorry, but it seems like
four
your parents locked you in a
leftover
basement until you
fucking
finished all your homework. Her,
one, two,
what about her? And
4 or
where'd she
5
go to
unlikable
stars?
douchebags.
Iraq, asshole.
Oh, so you've had
Whoop-de
military
fucking
experience.
you
So that
guys,
makes you
this is
like a-
gonna be fun. I hope they all just
Psycho.
fucking
See, no,
die.
I'm just.
You know, guys, as decent as this movie is, I just witnessed one of the main characters
I'll see you
plummet
later. You see anything?
100 feet to their death.
Hey,
Maybe more, I'm not really
I need you,
sure.
Brian, get in here.
But
Zoe.
I know I'm supposed to be upset and devastated that one of the characters died, but I can't. She wasn't likable in any way. She gave me no purpose to care about her. I'm really digging the overall storyline and the feel of this movie, but like, I can't get into it if I don't care about the characters. Like, please just give me a fucking reason to give a shit about these characters. Cause honestly, they could all die by the end of this and I could not give less of a fuck. I'm just saying. Okay. Trying to escape an escape room is hard enough. Trying to escape an escape room while on some hallucinogenic drug you just absorbed into your fucking skin, that is even harder. But you know what? That is fucking awesome, man. I love that a lot. Jesus Christ, that is great. Well, guys, that was Escape Room, and that ending was actually really cool. Let me just shut that off. Okay. Wow. How do I start with this? Well, let me just say this. First of all, when I was first going into this, I was deeply concerned that this whole film was just going to be like one big rip-off of Saw. And at the beginning there, I thought I was dead on right. Boy howdy was I incorrect. Well, in a few ways, this film does follow slightly in Saw's footsteps with the number of the elements that it gives. It is also in its own way a completely original kind of idea. Now, let's start with the writing. The writing here is both the strongest suit and the weakest. Because while I'll explain that, the story itself, fucking amazing idea. You have things like an escape room, and you have all these characters with these really bad backstories, with the really deep origin, that are all sole survivors. Except maybe the Saheed. I don't really know what his purpose in all of it was, but I guess I'll never know that. But the point of it is, our characters are all sole survivors, and these group of people want to put them to the test to see who's willing to out-survive the other sole survivors. And they do it with these puzzles that connect to each escape room. Has a puzzle that kind of connects to each of the experiences that each character survived. And the puzzles themselves are quite intelligent and very, very interesting. And I myself, honestly, given the situation, would never have survived something like this, because I am fucking terrible at puzzles, but that's not the point. Other than that, you got this whole storyline in which case all these characters are going here for a chance to win $10,000. Mind you, they never, for the life of day, are going to see that 10 grand. They just think they are. But yeah, the story here is really fucking fascinating. And basically, if you're wondering what's my big question at the end of all of this was, if all these people die, what are they gonna have to say about their disappearance? I didn't think that they were gonna fill that in, but the writers already had that planned out. The people that set up the escape room to begin with already made it seem like they all died in these freak accidents, and they already had like these ads for newspapers set to go out and make it look like all these characters died these unfortunate deaths, being survivors. Nobody was meant to actually escape the room. And that right there is a nice way to tie it all in together. But while the story itself and the build-up and the atmosphere is all done extremely well, the problem that I found with this movie is its lack of character. Like, the reason I thought the guy that played Zahid in Atypical was the most likable character was because he was just somebody that was there for his love of escape rooms. Like, he was the only person that was in any way sort of likable because he was just happy to be there, and everybody else was just like a snarky asshole. So basically, you got one of the main girls, her name was Zoe. She was just kind of like the shy, anxious damsel in distress sort of thing. You had the black guy, I think his name was Danny, who he'll do whatever it takes for him to come out on top because he doesn't give a fuck about anybody else but himself. You had the fat guy, Mike, who his character was he's kind of just a fucking weirdo with a weird-ass sense of humor. That's pretty much as far as his character goes. You had Amanda, who was an ex-soldier that survived this whole catastrophe, and she had like PTSD because of it, and that's as far as her character goes. And then you had the other guy, I can't for the life of me remember his fucking name, but he was just kind of a lonely loser that just wandered out of his mother's house, and he happened to kill his friends accidentally. Spoiler alert, whatever. But yeah, as far as character goes, that's all you really have for the characters. I do understand that they are given sort of slight backstories, with once again the exception being Zahid. He was just there to fucking die first off, which was really stupid if you ask me, but that's not the point. But while the characters' backstories, while slightly sad, it still isn't enough for you to be able to care about these characters, because the characters themselves aren't in any way real likable because of the way they are presented to you. And that's another thing I should mention with writing. Writing in this movie doesn't rely on violence. It actually, a lot of the stuff that happens in these escape rooms are left to the imagination, and you never actually get to see a lot of them die. One person drowns when they fall through ice. The other plummets 100 feet to their death. Another is shocked to death by paddles in a hospital room. The other dies a mix of a drug there that goes through the pores in their skin and head trauma. So overall, there's not really a lot of violence in the movie, which is honestly extremely refreshing, because that's a lot of the problems with psychological horror these days is they don't rely much on the psychological part as they should. And they tend to rely a lot on more of the horror aspects, the gore and the violence. What I liked about this film in particular was that it allowed you to use your imagination and try and put you in these characters' position to try and think what you would do. And while I do feel a bunch of the escape rooms could have been solved a lot more quickly. Like, for example, they took a lot more time to get out of the first room that was turning into a fucking furnace or inside of an oven than they should have. Like, the minute they found those things, my immediately first thought, if you push them down and they open the thing, why not get something heavy enough to put on each thing so you can just go through the thing? That was one of them. And the other thing is, they went to this really cold area outside of this cabin thing for an escape room, and they had to get this key for this door that was trapped underneath the ice in the water. They got the key and it was in a huge ass cube of ice, and they spent time and hours using their hands to warm the ice up so it will melt. My problem with that was, why not just break the goddamn ice? Because you break that ice hard enough, there are trees all around you, you can break that fucking ice. I do not care what anybody has to say. That ice, if you smash it repeatedly, it will break, and it would make a hell of a lot easier of a time to fucking get out of that room. Now, that being said, the story here is overall extremely well done. With the exception of the characters, the writing is overall really nice. And I really like how the tie-up blends into a sequel. And honestly, I know they have a planned sequel for this, and I'm actually quite looking forward to that, because they have a lot of unanswered questions, and I know that they're planning, the makers of this escape room thing were planning on going after the 2 lone survivors. Now I'm hoping the next film ends with them dying. I'm really hoping that happens, but overall, the overall twist at the end well, by the way, there's a twist at the end. They go back to the escape room. The main survivor chick, the lone survivor chick, while her friend is at the hospital, goes back with police, and it's all gone. There was no escape room there. It's all abandoned. That was a nice little wrap-up right there that I really enjoyed. Now, so the story overall, very nice. Now, let's talk about acting. The acting in this movie was extremely well done. While the characters might not be very likable, the actors that portrayed them did quite excellent jobs, with the exception probably having to be the bigger guy. I don't really know what his name is, or the actor that plays him, but I found that the bigger guy, Mike. Mike was, he was able to be funny in circumstances when he's supposed to be. When he's comes down to it and he has to be like completely serious and get all angry and all of this, he falls quite flat in those given situations, and I just overall didn't find his acting to be as strong a build-up as the rest of the actors in this movie. He's not bad, but he was nowhere near the rest of the cast. And the frickin' guy at the end of the movie who was in charge of the game master, his acting was by far probably the best out of them all, because his calm demeanor when he's just explaining it is just so psychotic and so diabolical that it almost brings a sinister smile to your face, and it's really fucked up, but it's also really nice. So, yeah, overall, the acting in this film is extremely top of the line, and I just wish they had given more time to the characters, so I would have actually liked the characters, because don't get me wrong, I like the acting, I just didn't like the characters. Yeah, moving on, let's talk about special effects. I really want to talk about the designs in this movie, because the designs of these escape rooms and a lot of the shit I saw were fucking beautiful. Like, the special, the number one wrong thing I want to give up special props to was the overall outside of that cabin. It just looked so beautifully done. Like, I have never seen anything like that, especially for this kind of film. And just the overall winter feel of it, and the cabin beside it just looked so beautiful. And the snow looked really nice too. The water, the ice, everything looked like a fucking giant hologram room, and it looked really fucking awesome. Then you had this, the third room, which is like a bar, but it's like an old timey bar, and it's all flipped around. Like, the ceiling is on the ground, and the ground is on the roof, and it just looks really fucked up, but it also looks extremely awesome. And a lot of the stuff that they have on the sides just looks, they went all out with the overall design of the escape rooms, and it just overall looked extremely fucking nice. And I'm actually glad that they like went into the overall design and didn't just like kind of, you know, slap certain things together so it didn't just look like a fucking cheap knockoff of a real escape room, if you know what I'm trying to say. But overall, like, the fucking design and the special effects in this movie are fucking amazing. But is there anything else I want to add? Yeah, I will say the director of this movie, he wrote and co-directed it. I said before that Ghost Dimension from the Paranormal Activity series was written by him, and Insidious: The Last Key was directed by him. I did not like either of those movies. I thought they were probably the poorest installment on each of the franchises. That being said, he does redeem himself with this movie, and I can give him a nice clap for redeeming yourself with this. You did an excellent job, and I congratulate you. Now, that being said, do not go back to either the Insidious or the Paranormal Activity series. Stay the fuck away from that and just focus on the sequel to this. So, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Escape Room? Yes. Granted, I would not go out of my way to buy this film. Honestly, just don't go out of your way to buy it. If you see it in a store for 10 or higher, it is not worth that. You can wait for it to maybe come on Netflix someday, or it's all free on Shaw on Demand right now. Go and watch it on there for free. Do not pay to see it. It's not that good. It's not good enough that you'd pay money to see it, but it is worth watching. Honestly, going into this film, I had my hopes set quite low, considering the shit that was Holmes and Watson for my last review, but I was quite pleasantly surprised by the psychological horror mystery that was presented to me with this film, and I am happy that I decided to give it a chance. So I apologize to the people that made this film. You were not ripping off Saw. You did a decent job, and thank you to you. Well, I think that pretty much sums up everything that I have to say about this film. If you ever see it on TV, most certainly give it a watch. It is extremely decent. With that, we come to another close to another reaction and review. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I sure enjoyed giving it to you. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below in the comments if there is a movie you'd like to see me watch and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you again later. Peace out, guys.